Hello, thank you for joining me. This game is called the King of Fighters Collection, the Orochi Saga. It's got King of Fighters 94 to 98, I believe. And from 94 to 98, it was the Orochi Saga. Orochi is a divine being that keeps returning every 100 years or so. And he's not necessarily a bad guy or a good guy. He just wants to wipe out humanity for the sake of Earth. Like he thinks the humans got to go because they're destroying the Earth. They have upset the balance of things. This is another game where Rugal is the final boss of. And once again, he has sent an invitation to some of the greatest fighters in the world. That's Kyo and Iori. They have a rivalry. They're both from different clans. You'll notice Rugal has one red eye. And that's because Rugal lost his eye to Gonets. I'm not completely sure if I'm saying that name right, but he was the final boss in King of Fighters 96. So him and Rugal had a fight once, and he lost his eye to him. Then Gonets gave Rugal a small portion of Orochi's power. This character I'm playing right now, his name is Iji. Iji might have only been in this King of Fighters. I'm not sure if I ever saw him in any other ones. Which is kind of weird because if you think about it, there's not a lot of ninja characters in King of Fighters. And as far as ninja characters go, Iji is one of the best. He's a pretty good character. Iji's from Art of Fighting. He debuted in Art of Fighting 2. In the past King of Fighters games, there used to be a POW gauge. You notice how your life bar starts flashing red when you're almost dead? Whenever that happens, you can do super moves as much as you want. But until then, you can only do super moves if your POW gauge is full. And to increase your power gauge, you gotta hold in 3 buttons, which is a little risky because you can't block while you're doing that. You'll notice the characters that are not fighting are in the background, and they can actually help their teammates out whenever they're seeing stars. Like, you know how you get stunned sometimes and your character gets dizzy? In these kind of games, your teammates will help you out. Unless they're like that, you notice how those 2 characters in the background, they've been defeated, so they can't help you then. This is Billy Kane. He's Geese Howard's right-hand man. Geese pretty much runs a gang. He pretty much has like a small mafia. Geese is the mayor of Southtown. Yeah, Geese pretty much took over Southtown by force. And that's why so many characters from Southtown, like Terry, they have a problem with him. And speaking of people that have a problem with Geese, Ryo Sakazaki, this guy that I'm fighting, and that's his father back there, Takuma Sakazaki, and his friend Robert. Those 3 characters have a beef with Geese as well, because one time Geese pretty much had a hand in a kidnap. Like, Ryo has a sister named Yuri, and she got kidnapped because of one of Geese's schemes. So that's another team that's from Southtown. This is one of my favorite characters, Robert. See how he threw that big fireball? This was back in the day when those 3 characters could throw that big fireball as much as they wanted. It didn't count as a super move back then. It's just something they did whenever they felt like it. Robert is from a really wealthy Italian family. And he drives around the Ferrari, and he's very confident and cocky, and he thinks he's so damn handsome. He likes Yuri, but her brother and father does not approve of that. They will never allow her to date him. And this is Takuma. He's the founder of the karate style that they do. The karate style is called Kyogen Karate, which is sort of based off of a real existing karate called Kyokushin. Kyokushin Karate, which is known to be the toughest karate style. This woman you're seeing is Vice. That's Rugal's secretary. She's also a great fighter. She's kind of psycho too. If you're working for Rugal, you're definitely a bad person. Rugal wouldn't even let you in his club unless you're a bad guy that's awesome at fighting. Speaking of awesome at fighting, this is the Fatal Fury team. Most people know this team. That's Joe. I believe I've already talked about these characters before in one of my previous King of Fighters games. But they're also from Southtown, except for Joe. Joe's from Japan. This is Terry Bogard, of course. He's in many... I mean, he's in all of the King of Fighters. He always will be, too, I'm pretty sure. The guy can't get enough of testing his skills. He really enjoys fighting. And he's a pretty laid-back guy. He drinks on his free time. And for a little while, he lived with Rock Howard and raised him. Rock Howard is Geese Howard's son. This is Andy, Terry's little brother. He's a very serious guy, unlike Terry. He's a ninja master who studied in Japan. And while he was there, he met Mai. Mai is madly in love with him. Speaking of which, this is a team that Mai is in. This is called the women's team. The women's team is always in King of Fighters. And it's usually... well, the person that's in charge of the woman team switches a lot. So I'm kind of confused who's the leader this time. But that was King that I just knocked out. She's a bouncer in a bar. Most likely this bar. This is Mai. Everybody in the world knows who Mai is. For obvious reasons. I think she was the first female video game character that revealed so much. You know, her attire is very skimpy. I think she's the very first video game character to do that, female-wise. I can't think of anybody else before her. This is Yuri. She's Ryo's sister. She was the one that got kidnapped by Geese, pretty much. And as you can see, she's doing well. She was rescued by her brother, and she's doing just fine. This is the cutscene where Rugal is eagerly waiting for the finalists of the tournament. And right now he's with somebody. He's with Kyo's father. This is Kyo's father. He's not in a lot of games either, but he's pretty damn good. He's pretty fun to be. This is where the finalists get to meet Rugal. And once you meet him, Rugal often asks if you're interested in working for him. He likes to have powerful fighters working for him. And these three decline. Because one, Billy says I only serve Geese Howard. And Iori says, Iori's a very proud man. And I think Iji's a good guy. And now that they said no, Rugal's going to kill them. And this is when he reveals that Saishu Kusanagi will be the opponent, Kyo's father. And boy, I hope somebody, anybody out there appreciates this video, because this boss fight took forever to beat. You guys know about the SNK boss syndrome, right? There was a meme going around saying SNK boss syndrome for a reason. SNK bosses are very hard. This is one of the rare cases where you have to beat two bosses in one fight. And I was pretty glad I got to beat him with the super move. And as you can see in this King of Fighters, there's some blood. Like, I don't know what happened to that. They stopped doing the blood thing. I always thought that was cool. And unfortunately, probably every King of Fighters from here on is probably gonna be 3D. Like 3D characters, you know? Not drawn like this. And I'm gonna miss that. I always like these games drawn. You'll notice one of Rugal's arms is cybernetic. This is the first time when Rugal started using cybernetics to enhance his strength. He might do it, but Rugal also has a move called Reppuken. Yeah, he's kind of psycho. He rips open his own chest. He is. He's a very crazy guy. One of his hobbies is he basically collects his victims. He likes to turn his victims into statues. And you'll notice Rugal has a move called Reppuken, just like Geese does. Because that Reppuken move is part of the Orochi clan's move. Right here, like, he's about to be destroyed. Because he can't handle the Orochi power that's been given to him. He's not part of the bloodline. The Orochi bloodline. And Yagami says it right here, only the bloodline can control that power. And this is where you get to see a secret that most people do not know about. You know how Billy is Geese's very close bodyguard? Billy realizes something. He realizes that Iori is Geese. After Geese killed himself, he took on a new identity as Iori. And just completely, like, he might have just lost it, and he just thinks he's a completely different person now.